Mississippi is permitless carry, but if you think that means carry any handgun, any way, into any place, Mississippi has a surprise for you. The holster matters, the sign on the door matters, and a permit can completely change where you are legally allowed to carry. By the end of this video, you'll know which lane you're in, before one small mistake takes a gun-friendly state and turns it into a criminal case. If you are at least 18 and can legally possess it, you may generally carry a handgun openly or concealed without a permit. For permitless concealed carry, the handgun may be loaded or unloaded, but it must be carried in a holster or inside an enclosed bag or case. So do not assume a handgun shoved loose into a pocket or tucked into your waistband is covered by Mississippi's permitless carry law. Open carry is generally legal too. A handgun in a sheath or holster that is fully or partly visible is not considered concealed. The permitless protection also does not apply while you are committing another crime other than a misdemeanor traffic offense. Mississippi still issues firearm permits, and they can matter. The standard permit generally requires you to be 21, although qualifying military members and veterans may apply between 18 and 20. It can help with reciprocity, the federal school zone rules, and sometimes background checks when buying a gun. We will cover those when they come up. It also allows concealed carry methods outside the specific holsters, bags, and cases covered by permitless carry. Mississippi also offers an enhanced endorsement. For most civilians, that requires an approved 8-hour firearms course. And this is the important difference. A standard permit does not remove Mississippi's ordinary prohibited place restrictions. Enhanced carry opens many of those locations. Mississippi recognizes valid permits from every other state, but an out-of-state permit does not automatically receive Mississippi's enhanced privileges. Mississippi also has no statewide magazine capacity limit or a state assault weapons ban. Most of this video focuses on handguns because rifles and shotguns do not fall under the same permitless carry language. So, you may not need a permit to carry in Mississippi, but whether you are carrying permitless, with a standard permit, or with an enhanced endorsement completely changes where you can carry. The second wall is location. From here, we're talking about concealed carry. Open carry does not get you around separate laws, local rules, or private property. Permitless carry and a standard permit follow the ordinary restricted list. Enhanced carry opens more doors, but not all of them. Start with school drop-off. Mississippi generally prohibits firearms on educational property, including school buildings, campuses, grounds, athletic fields, and school buses. A non-student may keep a firearm inside a vehicle on school property as long as it stays there and is not displayed carelessly, angrily, or threateningly. Once you step out armed, the vehicle exception is gone. Permitless carry does not authorize you to enter the school armed, and neither does a standard Mississippi permit. Enhanced carry is different. In January 2026, the Mississippi Attorney General reaffirmed that a school district cannot prohibit a member of the public with an enhanced permit from carrying a concealed handgun inside a school facility or at a school athletic event where the public is otherwise normally permitted. A school may still enforce separate student or employee policies. An enhanced carry does not open offices, secured areas, or other parts of the school where the public is not normally allowed. Federal law separately covers the area within 1,000 feet of a K-12 school. A Mississippi-issued firearm permit can satisfy the federal license exception inside that zone. An out-of-state permit may be recognized by Mississippi and still fail that exception because Mississippi did not issue it. Without that license exception, the federal vehicle option is generally an unloaded firearm secured in a locked container or rack, but that only addresses the federal zone. It does not give you permission to enter actual school property under Mississippi law. For courthouses, permitless carriers and standard permit holders generally cannot carry inside. An enhanced permit holder may enter the courthouse armed, but not an active courtroom unless the judge authorizes it. The ordinary restricted list also includes polling places, government and legislative meetings, colleges and universities, certain churches, and non-firearm athletic events. Enhanced carry generally opens those locations. The airport follows the same pattern. Permitless carriers and standard permit holders generally cannot carry inside the passenger terminal unless the firearm is properly encased for airline travel. An enhanced permit holder may carry inside the public terminal under Mississippi law, but not through the TSA checkpoint or into the sterile area. Curbside pickup and drop-off are outside the passenger terminal, so Mississippi's terminal restriction generally does not apply there. If you are flying with a firearm, it must be unloaded, locked in a hard-sided case, checked, and declared to the airline. Alcohol is another place people misunderstand the rule. Mississippi does not automatically prohibit carry through every restaurant that serves alcohol. The permitless carriers and standard permit holders, the restriction generally applies to the portion primarily devoted to alcohol, usually the bar area. Enhanced carry removes that state location restriction, but the owner can still prohibit firearms, and legal access does not make drinking while armed a good idea. Enhanced carry still stops at police stations, sheriff's offices, highway patrol stations, detention facilities, prisons, jails, active courtrooms, and a few other locations specifically prohibited by law. It also never overrides federal law. Federal property, including post office property and federal courthouses, follows federal rules no matter which Mississippi permit you have. Then there are signs. Mississippi law describes a notice that is clearly readable from at least 10 feet and states that carrying a pistol or revolver is prohibited. On private property, that notice can prohibit concealed carry, including enhanced carry. County and municipal signs must indicate whether the restriction applies only to people without the enhanced endorsement or to everyone. A private owner can also order you to leave, and refusing can become trespassing. Counties and cities also have limited authority at public parks, government meetings, political rallies, parades, and non-firearm athletic events. So, read the entire sign instead of assuming every gun symbol applies to enhanced carriers or that none of them do. That's a lot of additional access for one 8-hour course. Would you get the enhanced permit or stick with permitless carry? Comment enhanced or permitless. But before we walk into any of those places, you still have to get there with a gun in your vehicle. Mississippi's vehicle law is much simpler. If you are over 18 and can legally possess a firearm, you may generally carry it concealed inside a motor vehicle without a permit. It may be loaded, and Mississippi does not generally require it to be locked in a case or separated from the ammunition. The firearm may be carried on your person or stored somewhere else inside the vehicle. Once you step out, the vehicle exception ends. From that point, Mississippi's normal carry methods and prohibited place rules apply. So arriving somewhere legally with a gun in the car does not automatically mean you can step out carrying it or leave it stored there however you want. Mississippi also protects firearms stored in employee vehicles. Public and private employers generally cannot prohibit an employee from keeping a firearm inside a locked vehicle in a designated parking area. But a private employer may restrict gated or otherwise access-controlled employee parking. The protection also does not cover employer-owned vehicles or property where firearms are already prohibited by state or federal law. Even when the law allows you to leave the gun behind, keep it hidden. A handgun visible on the seat, dashboard, or magnet mount invites theft. A locked container secured inside the vehicle is not generally required, but it is the smarter way to leave a firearm unattended. Now the red and blue lights come on behind you and you find yourself in a traffic stop. Mississippi does not require you to immediately volunteer that you are carrying a firearm. If you are carrying under a Mississippi permit, you must have the permit and valid identification with you and display both if an officer demands them. Keep your hands visible and explain what you are reaching for before reaching near the gun or paperwork stored beside it. Mississippi gives you a lot of freedom inside the vehicle, but none of those rules help you if you were never legally allowed to possess the firearm in the first place. The third wall is the person carrying the gun. If you are prohibited from possessing a firearm, none of the permit, vehicle, or location rules matter. Mississippi generally prohibits anyone convicted of a felony in Mississippi, another state, or federal court from possessing a firearm unless the person has received a pardon, qualifying federal relief, or a Mississippi Certificate of Rehabilitation. Federal law adds other prohibited person categories. Those generally include fugitives, unlawful drug users or addicts, qualifying domestic violence cases, certain mental health rulings, dishonorable discharges, renounced citizenship, and unlawful immigration status. Those definitions matter. Not every restraining order creates a firearm prohibition, and not every misdemeanor domestic violence case qualifies under federal law. Mississippi's permit requirements can be stricter than its basic possession rules. Someone may legally own a gun but still be denied a permit because of recent violent misdemeanors, chronic drug or alcohol abuse, certain mental health rulings, or some withheld or suspended felony cases. Pending disqualifying charges can suspend an existing permit or pause an application until the case is resolved. So being allowed to possess the gun does not automatically mean Mississippi has to issue you a permit. A person with a felony conviction may petition a court for a certificate of rehabilitation. The judge must find that the person has been rehabilitated, has lived a productive and law-abiding life, and is unlikely to endanger public safety. Finishing probation, parole, or the sentence alone does not restore firearm rights. Someone discharged from court-ordered mental health treatment may petition the committing court for relief from the firearm disability. Leaving treatment alone does not restore those rights. Mississippi does not currently have a separate red flag law that allows someone to request an extreme risk protection order created specifically to remove firearms. But other court orders can still affect possession. A qualifying domestic violence protection order can trigger a federal firearm prohibition, and certain mental health adjudications or commitments can do the same. Now marijuana, because Mississippi has a specific state rule and federal law changed in 2026. Mississippi says a registered patient who lawfully uses medical cannabis is not disqualified from the state's permitless carry protection solely because the medical use falls under the federal unlawful user provision. Then in June 2026, the Supreme Court decided United States versus Hemani. The court rejected applying the federal ban to a man based only on his regular marijuana use, without evidence that his use made him dangerous. But the ruling was narrow. It did not decide cases involving addiction, someone currently intoxicated, or proof that a person's drug use made them dangerous to themselves or others. And Mississippi's medical cannabis protection is written specifically into the permitless carry law. It does not automatically answer every question involving a Mississippi permit or a firearm purchase. If anything in your history might prohibit you, verify your status before carrying. Because finishing a sentence, ending treatment, or assuming an old case disappeared is not the same as having your rights legally restored. And if you are legally allowed to possess the firearm, the final wall is how you acquire it. If you are legally allowed to possess a firearm, buying one from a Mississippi gun store is fairly straightforward. You complete ATF Form 4473, show ID, and the dealer runs a background check through NICS, the National Instant Criminal Background Check System. A valid Mississippi standard or enhanced firearm permit may be accepted instead of running a new NICS check, but the dealer can still choose to run the check. The response generally comes back in one of three ways: proceed, delay, deny. Proceed means transfer can continue. Mississippi does not add a state waiting period, so a cleared buyer can usually receive the firearm the same day. Delay means NICS needs more time. It does not mean you were denied. If no denial is received after 3 business days, federal law generally allows the dealer to complete the transfer, but the dealer may choose to wait for a final answer. For buyers under 21, additional record checks can extend the delay to as many as 10 business days. If you believe the denial is wrong, use the NICS challenge process. Now the age rules. Federal law generally sets 21 as the dealer handgun purchase age. Rifles and shotguns may generally be transferred by a dealer beginning at 18. Private sales are different. Mississippi does not require a background check for an ordinary private transfer between 2 Mississippi residents. But the seller cannot transfer a firearm to someone they know or reasonably believe is prohibited under federal law. Mississippi also prohibits knowingly selling, giving, or lending a deadly weapon or pistol cartridge to someone under 18 or to someone who is intoxicated. That means an 18 to 20-year-old may legally acquire a handgun from a private Mississippi seller even though a gun store cannot transfer that same handgun to them. A transfer to an out-of-state resident generally has to go through a federally licensed dealer in the recipient state. Mississippi does not require a bill of sale for an ordinary private transfer, but I'd keep one for my records. Then there's a straw purchase. A straw purchase is a federal crime where someone lies about being the actual buyer to acquire a firearm for somebody else. A genuine gift to someone who can legally receive it is different.
Mississippi makes buying and carrying a lot easier than a lot of states. But the heat can make carrying uncomfortable, and that is why we built Everyday Carry shorts.
Hey, if you made it this far, you probably care about doing things right. If you've tried carrying in gym shorts or sweats, it just never feels quite right. Waistband moves, holster shifts, it's fine, but it's not dialed. That is why we built Relaxed Fit Tactical. Our shorts lock onto an inner belt, so your holster clips to a hidden belt, not just fabric. Same setup, same draw, just more comfortable. So if you carry every day, this just makes sense. Links below.